Hello and welcome to our channel. We're not going to sugarcoat it today. We're going to jump right into some scary stuff. We will be discussing the 10 ways the world could see an economic catastrophe in 2024. The global economy has been largely stable in the past year, but stability is rarely permanent, and there are still plenty of threats to the global economy out there. In this video, we will be discussing the 10 major events that could derail global prosperity in 2024. Number 1. Trump's two-step doom. Remember the orange whirlwind? Yeah, he might be back. The American election due in November is by far the biggest date on the financial calendar. If he wins, his protectionism could easily trigger a global recession. The only problem is that there is another, even more alarming possibility. Trump doesn't win the presidency. If he narrowly loses, his embittered, angry supporters, stirred up by a leader who has little respect for the Constitution, may well pose the most significant threat to the American Republic since its founding in 1776. Number 2. When bears rule the Kremlin. The war in Ukraine isn't over yet, and a Russian victory would be a shock similar to February 2022, when we assumed Putin would win within a few days. Gas prices would become the new gold, bread lines would stretch from Moscow to Melbourne, and the threat of a wider conflict would hang over our heads like a nuclear Damocles sword. What a blow to international trade and prosperity. Number 3. The world's sea lanes close. The world's sea lanes are suddenly very vulnerable, and that leaves global trade at risk of dramatically closing down. If that happened, there would be shortages, price rises, and power blackouts within weeks, triggering a full-blown global depression. Number 4. China's green card to power. China might be able to hold the world to ransom with its control of net zero technology in the 2020s. In transitioning to net zero, we have handed China control of our energy and transport systems. If it chooses to weaponize that, then we may find ourselves in big trouble. Imagine carbon taxes higher than Mount Everest, renewable energy blackouts more common than traffic jams, and Elon Musk crying into his SpaceX rocket fuel. It's not a pretty picture. Number 5. A blockade of Taiwan. If exports were stopped, the global economy would soon feel the impact. Taiwan manufactures 60% of the world's microchips and 90% of the most advanced ones that can't be made anywhere else. The tech industry would grind to a halt. No more smartphones. No more self-driving cars. No more TikTok dances. Basically, the digital age would come to a screeching halt, leaving us all clutching our old flip phones and yearning for the simpler days of dial-up internet. Number 6. AI-powered hackers. Remember those Terminator movies? They might seem quaint now, but with the rise of super-smart AI, the threat of cyber attacks on a global scale is no longer sci-fi fantasy. AI will exponentially increase the vulnerability of the global economy to a major cyber attack. Imagine hackers wielding AI like digital bazookas, crashing stock markets, shutting down power grids, or even manipulating elections. Now that's a party no one wants to be at. Hacking and phishing attacks already breach firewalls and security systems at banks, companies, and government departments on an almost daily basis. But AI could turbocharge this, making it far easier to collect the data needed to break through security systems. Number 7. Private equity collapse. If one of the major PE houses defaulted on its debts, the losses would be so huge it would pose a systemic risk to the entire financial system. The private equity boys have been on a buying spree, snapping up companies like kids collecting Pokemon cards. But what happens when all that borrowed money comes due, and the economy takes a downturn? Well, let's just say, it's not gonna be pretty. Think dominoes of debt collapsing, investors running for the hills, and companies shutting their doors faster than a haunted house on Halloween. And it could happen at any moment. Number 8. Deep German recession. Germany, the powerhouse of Europe, is looking a bit less powerful these days. The cheap energy, the export boom, they've gone poof. And its heavy industries, they're starting to resemble vintage steam engines in the age of Teslas. So, what happens when this economic giant stumbles? It will drag down the Eurozone, depressing the currency. And it will only increase support for the right-wing Alternative for Deutschland party, while Chancellor Scholz's grip on power will be weaker and weaker, and the country will be increasingly reluctant to pay the bills for the rest of the EU. A German depression may well sink the single currency. Number 9. A stock market collapse in India. While everyone's been watching China, India has been quietly flexing its economic muscles. It's become the 5th largest economy in the world. Its stock market is booming, and everyone's pouring money in like it's going out of style. But here's the thing. Emerging markets have a knack for volatility. It's like riding a bull with a blindfold on, you never know when it's gonna buck you off. So, if the Indian stock market decides to take a nosedive, the ripples will be felt across the globe, leaving investors crying into their chai tea. Number 10. Javier Milei triumphs in Argentina. Argentina's always been a bit of a wild card, and now they've elected a president who makes Johnny Rotten look like a corporate accountant. Javier Milei is changing things up by making big changes, cutting rules, and making the peso worth less faster than a politician can dodge a question. It could free Argentina's economy from its chains, but it could also shock the world's financial system. So here you have it, 10 ways the world economy could really tank in 2024. But hey, don't panic. Remember, these are just potential scenarios, and the future is rarely set in stone. We might be able to avoid these economic problems and have a year of sunshine and plenty. But even if things do get a little bumpy, hey, at least we can all bond over shared economic anxieties, right? And who knows, maybe some of these potential catastrophes will lead to positive changes. After all, even the darkest storm clouds can have a silver lining, right? That's all for today. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more content. And if you have any suggestions for other important topics, leave a comment below. Till then, stay informed, stay positive,